You're at a family dinner, and your uncle leans over and says, you're just throwing money away on rent. When are you going to grow up and buy a house? Sound familiar? Well, buckle up, because we're about to flip the script on everything you thought you knew about renting versus buying. Spoiler alert, your uncle might not know as much as he thinks he does. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, the so-called American dream of homeownership. We've been fed this idea that owning a home is the ultimate financial goal, rite of passage into adulthood, and the only way to build real wealth. Here's a truth bomb for you. It's a myth, a very profitable myth for banks, real estate agents, and your uncle who's trying to offload his rental property, but a myth nonetheless. Don't get me wrong, homeownership can be great for some people, but it's not the one-size-fits-all solution we've been led to believe. In fact, for many people, renting isn't just a viable option. It might actually be the smarter financial move. Shocked? Confused? Maybe a little angry? Good. That means you're ready to learn the home truth they don't tell you at those first-time homebuyer seminars. Let's break down some of the hidden costs of homeownership that your realtor conveniently forgets to mention. First up, property taxes. Depending on where you live, this could add thousands to your annual housing cost. And guess what? They tend to go up over time, not down. It's like signing up for a gym membership, where the fee keeps increasing, you can't cancel. Next, homeowners insurance. It's not optional if you have a mortgage, and it's a good idea even if you don't. Budget for a few hundred to a few thousand per year, depending on your home's value and location. Think of it as paying for a safety net you hope you'll never need to use. Then there's maintenance and repairs. Oh boy, this is a big one. Rule of thumb, budget 1 to 4% of your home's value for this every year. At a $300,000 house, that's $3,000 to $12,000 a year for upkeep. Surprise! Your water heater just died. Happy birthday to you. Don't forget about HOA fees if you're in a managed community. These can run hundreds per month. It's like paying rent on top of your mortgage. But instead of a landlord, you get passive-aggressive notes about your lawn care. And here's the kicker: opportunity cost. That down payment you put on the house, that's money that's not invested in the stock market, potentially earning higher returns. It's like choosing to plant a tree instead of buying fruit at the store. Sure, you might get fruit eventually, but you'll be waiting a while. Last but not least, mortgage interest. On a $300,000 house with a 30-year mortgage at 3.5% interest, you'll pay about $184,000 in interest over the life of the loan. That's more than half the value of the house. But wait, there's more. If you'd invested that money instead, assuming a 7% annual return, you could be looking at some serious cash. That's the opportunity cost we talked about earlier. It's like choosing not to buy a winning lottery ticket because you wanted to frame the losing one. Now, I'm not saying you should never buy a home. For many people, it's a great decision. But it's not for everyone. And it's certainly not always the best financial move. Now, let's make the case for renting. It's not just for college students and people afraid of commitment. First, flexibility. Renting allows you to be mobile. Got a great job offer in another city? You can move without the hassle of selling a house? Want to downsize or upgrade? Just wait until your lease is up. Second, predictability. Your costs are generally fixed. No surprise $10,000 roof repair or broken water heater to deal with. You know exactly what you're paying each month. Third, no down payment required. Instead of tying up a huge chunk of cash in a down payment, you can invest that money elsewhere, potentially earning higher returns. Fourth, no property taxes or homeowners insurance to worry about. That's your landlord's problem. Fifth, someone else deals with maintenance and repairs. Sink leaking? Call the landlord. Grass needs mowing? Not your problem, usually. Sixth, you can live in areas you might not be able to afford to buy in. Want to live in the heart of the city? Renting might be your best bet. Lastly, and this might surprise you, renting can actually be cheaper than buying in many markets. Especially when you factor in all the costs of homeownership we talked about earlier. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what about building equity? Well, let's talk about that. Now, I'm not here to tell you that buying a home is always a bad idea. There are definitely situations where it can make sense. First, if you plan to stay in one place for a long time, usually at least 5 to 7 years. This gives you time to build equity and offset the high transaction costs of buying and selling. Second, if you live in an area with a strong, stable housing market. Not all markets are created equal, and some appreciate much faster than others. Third, if you've got a stable income and a healthy emergency fund. Homeownership comes with unexpected costs, and you need to be prepared. Fourth, if you're in a high tax bracket and can benefit from the mortgage interest deduction. Though remember, this only helps if you itemize your deductions. Lastly, if you're the type of person who values stability and wants to customize your living space, there's definitely something to be said for being able to paint the walls whatever color you want. The key is to run the numbers for your specific situation. Don't just buy because someone told you it's what you're supposed to do. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The idea that real estate always goes up in value. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Yes, over very long periods, real estate tends to appreciate, but it's not the guaranteed moneymaker many people think it is. Just ask anyone who bought a house in 2007, right before the housing crash. In fact, when adjusted for inflation, home prices in the US have only increased by about 1% per year over the past 100 years. The S&P 500, for comparison, has returned about 7% per year after inflation. And here's another reality check. Your primary residence isn't really an investment. It's a place to live. Any appreciation is just a bonus. A real investment puts money in your pocket each month, not takes it out. Remember, a home is a part of your financial picture, not your entire financial strategy. Diversification is key, whether you rent or buy. So, how do you decide whether to rent or buy? Here are a few steps. Use a rent versus buy calculator. The New York Times has a great one online. It factors in all the costs we've discussed and gives you a break-even point. Consider your lifestyle. You value flexibility or stability more. Look at the price-to-rent ratio in your area. If it's over 20, it generally favors renting. Think about your future plans. Planning to move in a few years? Renting might be better. Assess your financial situation. You have a stable income and a healthy emergency fund. Consider the non-financial factors. How much do you value being able to customize your space? Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. The right choice depends on your individual circumstances and goals. Look, at the end of the day, a home, whether rented or owned, is just a place to live. It's not a measure of your success or your worth as a person. The most important thing is to make a decision based on your financial reality, not societal pressure or outdated myth. Whether you're a happy renter or a proud homeowner, what matters is that you've made an informed choice that aligns with your goals and values. So the next time someone gives you flack about renting or pressures you to buy, you can smile knowing you've got the real home truth. Your financial future is in your hands. Whether those hands are holding a rent check or house keys,